Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Good. All right. Hey, thank you. All right. So December 20th, trade of the week. As Scott mentioned, next week's pretty much a holiday and a couple of holiday Mondays in between. So this will be our last trade of the week call and webinar for the year 2016. So I've got kind of an abbreviated content batch for you all this week, and then I'm going to turn it over to Keith Kern, who I think you guys are really going to like. He's been a long-time Trade Ideas user, and as well as Ditto Trade. I know some of you have probably heard myself and Andy talk about when we were Today Trader. We spent 3.5 years as a mirrored brokerage account where people could attach their trades and ride our coattails and take profits or detach and all that. Well, Keith Kern was also a member of that really cool technology, which is no longer around, which is a shame, but it's going to be nice to bring him on later. So just a little quick intro on Keith. He's an expert user at Trade Ideas, and he is the real deal when it comes to trading as well. Just a quick disclaimer, as always, the lawyers like us to remind you that Trade Ideas is a content publisher. We're just some guys showing you some real cool technology here and a few ideas. If you're looking for some financial advice or family planning, things like that, you really got to go to the guys who paid the money to get the license, and we'll take your money on the fee based. But they're the ones that'll give you the financial advice. We are just content providers and software as a service. So we'll get that out of the way. Always have to spend time on this slide, and we pride ourselves at Trade Ideas. It is a very comprehensive program, and we know that, and it can't be learned overnight. So we have a few different ways to keep people engaged. The first and foremost is Barry's live trading room every day during market hours. You can see the desktop. He's trading his own account, dealing with, we've got about 500 people in the room now using Trade Ideas and kicking around ideas. And at the same time, Barry is a wonderful administrator of that room because he'll stop what he's doing and show somebody in real time how to put something together if they're curious. So there's some good technical support tabs in there. Other people jump in and help each other as well. It's a great community, and the best thing about it is it's free. We've got 4 webinars every week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 5 p.m. Eastern. They're all now on the same schedule, synced up real nicely. And then lastly, the one-on-ones. I don't believe it's on this slide, but we just want to remind you, especially the people who are not subscribing but are thinking about subscribing, maybe with one of Scott's promo codes here at the end. A 30-day trial is a recommended way to go, because once you sign up for Trade Ideas, there's about a bit of a 7 or 8 day waiting period, but you can sign up with us and have a one-on-one hour session, hour of power. We share a desktop or we look at your desktop. Either way, get you guys going in the right direction, answer some of your questions, and also share some of the alerts that we use. But that hour goes by real quick, and it's really informative, but we get great feedback on that. So all of these things combined, is what we pride ourselves on the concierge and the onboarding of Trade Ideas users. Which would translate into our subscription growth, of course, with the introduction of Holly, the AI technology here. We've had a really nice subscription growth, and I think a lot of that is due in part to our increased efforts as well, bringing more people on for support and education. Quick look at the AI performance. It's January 1. We're almost ready to close out the whole year here. The blue line signals the SPY ETF. The green line signals the AI Holly in the aggregate form. So at the end of the year, we're kind of showing here how the AI is definitely outperforming the S&P on a points basis, but it's a visual here to kind of show you that the casino odds are with this tool. This tool may not make money every single day in every single trade, but just like the casino, at the end of the day, the casino odds are in the favor of the house. And so this is a wonderful graphical representation to show people how that is going to play out. Now, at the beginning of the year, we're going to have something more public, something more interactive, but for now, this is our back-end proprietary data model of how the AI has been performing relative to the market. What are we going to do today? Real quick, I've got a little bit of content for you. I'm going to look at the market, a bit of a recap. Very quiet day for Holly the AI. Not much to talk about there. Going to continue to talk about what's working. We set up a few price alerts last week, and those are still seeming to work. The trend changed as we we call it, with high short float. And then I was going to show you an example of the bouncers alert today. Something you may see on Holly once in a while, but boy, that thing, if you're like an intraday scalper and you're just somebody who doesn't mind sitting around trying to pick up, quarters or 50 cents, I'm going to show you this one again here. This is a really interesting tool for the intraday traders. And then a very popular question, I'm taking one of my scans that is the washout bounce, which happened to be an alert. But as a popular question is, so how do I take an alert and turn that into a top list? And so I'll show you real quickly the way in which we do that. And then I'll turn it over to Keith Kern's presentation, and we'll just go from there. All right. So let's start with market recap, using the SPY, as I always do, as the first place to look. These lines are still intact. This orange line here was our breakout line. And I'd like to highlight something. We had about 4 or 5 days of really nice movement last week, and I said, I'm wondering where the SPY may look to pull back. And it's kind of hard to tell using daily candles, but what you can do is use the 15-minute chart sometimes. And if we use this 15-minute chart, and if I blow it up, you guys can kind of see a little bit how we came up with that line. Back here we had resistance, and then that resistance became support. So this was really a nice pivot line showing up on the 15-minute SPY chart. And as it were, look at how that pivot line actually worked. The price action pierced it and popped above and closed. So, a great exercise in continuing to use multiple time frames to try and find your levels. So the spiders bounced as predicted, I guess you could say, right off that line, and looking to move possibly higher. But the real story, of course, is the Dow at the 2,000. This orange line here represents the 2,000. We've gotten so close, but I just got a gut feeling that we're going to kiss that 2,000 here probably in the next couple days or two. Where we go beyond that, who knows? We could shoot right through, we could gap right through, or we could pierce right through and trigger just a hailstorm of sell algorithms. Who knows? But I feel like the media has been talking about this ad nauseum. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's get the diamonds and the Dow up to the 2,000 level. Looking at the Qs, it's kind of interesting. If we back out, this was the breakout line of the Qs, and so once again, prior resistance can become future support, but the Qs have been lagging. There's not been much leadership over there, but to their testament, they have not posted a close below this line. They've dipped twice, a couple times, but the closes remain above the breakout line. That still remains relatively bullish. And then lastly, the IWM, which has been pretty much the leader of the move, the Russell 2000 and small caps. I went ahead and just drew this line right here, again, thinking prior resistance could become future support. It's very possible that these people right here, this little low, could become tested at some point, and then this level could become support. So we shall see. But that's what I've got for the market roundup. Hang on one second here. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think we touched on all 4 of those. Holly, the AI, had a very quiet day today. Basically down 11 cents after 7 or 8 trades, it looks like here. And there really wasn't much to come back on. The trades were quick in and quick out. Holding on to a trade for the rest of the day really wasn't in the cards, as evidenced by the risk on. A lot of these early trades, they wound up going into the red by the end of the day. One second. All right, so yeah, I really didn't have much to show on Holly, and there are days where there's just not much to show. It was interesting. If we take a look coming into today, our starting lineup had 5 long strategies, not a single short strategy. I haven't seen that in a while, and I thought that was kind of unusual. But nonetheless, that's what the algorithm and the AI does come up with overnight. Apparently, none of the short strategies seem to be working well in this market environment, so Holly kept those off the starting line bench. But again, it was basically a risk-off type of day. As you can see the column here, risk-off. These are Holly's exits. A lot of the exits that were taken green wound up rolling over and turning red, so a very statistically noisy day, but nonetheless a good example to show you guys how, in the end, the casino odds will win with the AI, but not every single day is going to be a big winner. And if somebody's trying to sell you a tool that's going to do that every single day, then I got a bridge I can sell you. Okay, so Let's take a look at last week. As I said, what's been working? Well, the trend change, before I do that, this is the trend change lubricant window. And this is essentially a top list, which means it's a list of stocks that are being satisfied by the filters. Now, normally, we might want to double click and sort by relative volume and see a big difference in discrepancy between the volume at the top versus stocks doing hardly any volume down here. And that's usually a good exercise. On the top lists, basically every 30 seconds they're refreshed, but we're able to sort based on whatever we want. And as I said, typically sorting by relative volume is a good way to go because it brings the action to the top. But in this particular case, I have a different strategy. I am sorting by the short float, because what's been working lately, guys, is the short squeeze. If I go back to the IWM, these short sellers, they're basically running for the hills down here. Maybe they thought they had some good profits, but this market environment has been anything but just a nightmare for the shorts. So left and right, we're seeing a lot of short squeezes moving higher. And this is one of my main tools to find those, because if we look here, I've got a short float column, I've got a float in the shares column, and right next to each other I can quickly kind of take a look and see. Yesterday, let me highlight this SGY, because if you guys were in the webinar yesterday with Dan and myself, we were talking about this SGI, and it had another really nice move today after coming off of some other moves, but not surprised that it did that. Why am I not surprised? Because let's just take a look at this thing here. SGY has only, and I'm saying only with a capital O, only 4.8 million shares in the float. That's an extremely low circulation for any stock. There's just not much friction to keep a stock from moving very slipperily, that's a word, to keep a stock from moving greasingly without any friction, because it doesn't take much to move price around when the float is only 4 million shares. But then we look, of those 4 million shares, over 1/3 of them are considered still short based on the last short report. So this is a recipe for kind of what has happened the last few days in this SGY. And not to mention the market backdrop, as I said before, certainly helped. Would this kind of stuff be happening if our market was plunging to new lows and the sellers were out? No, probably not. So the market backdrop has been taking out short sellers and just taking them to the woodshed and spanking them. So we talked a lot about this one last night, SGY, in the webinar last night. So that is what's been working. And if I go to the price alerts real quickly, I think last week was the 13th. We gave out a couple from this particular setting. And the first one was, let's see here. The first one was ESPR. Let's double click on that. ESPR at the time, if we go to our single stock window here, had 28% short the float, only 15 million shares. So once again, there's the recipe. In my book, anything over 20% short the float is significant. And anything under 20 million shares in the float is also significant. So again, some really nice alpha. This was an alert that was set last week, you guys. I recall telling you it was bouncing at this 1250 level, trying to find the weak spot through the ceiling, and it did. It found the weak spot through the ceiling, and the short covering continues. That was ESPR. Cal-Maine Foods also worked out pretty well. Took a couple extra days to get through, but it's through our alert right here and generating positive alpha. 41% short the float on 32 million shares. So again, you guys get the gist of what we're still looking at. Oh, CRR, we can't fail to mention that one. CRR actually triggered today. Pulled back a little bit, but gave us a really nice alpha move today through our trigger zone. And let's just take a look at that once again. 43% short on 19 million shares. Another really nice recipe for short float squeezes. And that's really what's been going on, guys. That's where I've been focusing. If you look at the notes in here, TCO, these are all trend change lubricants with the short float percentage and the amount in circulation. So when these alerts go off, I know exactly what I was thinking when the alert was set. All right. What has also been working is bouncers. And for those of you who are subscribers, you may notice occasionally that you've seen the name bouncers in the strategy here for Holly's strategy called bouncers. And it wasn't in there today, but I happen to have a copy of it, and I just wanted to show some of you intraday scalpers something that might be of interest. And yes, I'm going to share this with you guys, don't worry, but let me just quickly show you out of these 5 trades. Here was the first trade this morning. The orange line is the markup. All right. First line had a nice, 35-cent move off of that. BVN, let's double click on that. BVN had a really nice move as well, trending for the rest of the day. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this one, what it's basically doing, here's a great example on the daily, is it's kind of faking out the short sellers. The short sellers that took out the low here and went for a short sell. Basically, when the price breaks below the prior day's low and does not follow through, it just bounces right back into yesterday's range. That's the real trigger for this bouncer's play. It's essentially just a failed breakdown and just kind of a reversion to the mean. There was no follow through, there was no stop hunting, no running to the downside. So these bouncers can come back here once again. Look at this. A beautiful tail, took out yesterday's lows. The orange line is the signal line, and a really nice movement throughout the day without too much hassle. A little bit of noise in this one first, but that was only 15 cents of noise or 10 cents of noise. Finished stronger, and then Red Hat basically finished flat on the day. So for those of you that are users, I imagine there's a few of you that might want to experiment with this. This is what we do. We go ahead and we copy and save the cloud link code. And I'll call your attention to the the chat window here on GoToMeeting. You just hit the little plus key, and the chat window opens up, and I'll just go ahead and type in bouncers here, and then I'll paste the code. So anybody with trade ideas can receive that code, copy it to their cloud, and then you can start monitoring this particular scan called bouncers. And once again, all it's doing is just looking to break through yesterday's lows. If it doesn't find anything to run it lower, it comes back into yesterday's range, and then that's where the magic occurs. Yes, I've got the short squeeze one. Let me go ahead and give you that one too, since I did spend some time talking about it. That's only fair. And again, you guys, you've got to sort this column, this top list. You got to sort it by short float. I've got my minimum set way down here at 5 or 6, but honestly, I'm mostly interested in things at 20 and above on the short float. So let me do that. Drop that into the, I'll call it the trend change lubricant, TCL. I'll paste that for you. And then there's that. And that's what's been working. Shorting has not been working, guys. Shorting has not been working. If there's somebody out there that's got some great short strategies, I'd love to see it, because the backdrop to the market has just not been conducive. And my last bit here before I turn it over to Keith is a common question. The washout bounce is something, and none of them, by the way, none of them came through today. So this is a history of the washout bounce yesterday, just so I can give you guys a visual. It's a scan that looked for the long bottoming tail with a hammer. Ideally, after a couple days of pullback, can kind of give us some ideas of maybe where there was some washout. Again, here was a really nice washout tail yesterday, and then once that happens, ideally, today was a perfect example of what we would expect to follow through. Now, this is an A window. This is an alert window. The alert window is real time because it gives us a price stamp and the time stamp. But it requires a trade ideas algorithm, which in this case is a 5-minute high. And that's what triggers this particular washout bounce, that algorithm. But what if we wanted to slow things down a little bit and move this configuration over to what we've done kind of with the top list, where we can let these things filter in every 30 seconds and come and go and sort by what we want? How do we take that same code and drop it into a top list? Here's my top list. First one on here is BCO, has a similar type of hammer candle look as well. So what we do is we'll start with our source, which was going to be the alert window, and we use what's called collaborate. It's very similar to the cloud link, but it's collaborate. It's the first generation. So I'm going to do the same thing we do with the clouds. I'm going to copy all. Now I've got that in my clipboard. We have to launch a new top list window that we want to make. All right? So we'll go ahead and start from scratch. We'll go ahead and launch it, and there's nothing in there. But what we need to do is collaborate and paste. Now we have a working top list that essentially, if I go to configure here, you can see all the configures fell into place. Everything that I had working on my alert window is now here duplicated with all these filters, minus, of course, the algorithm that showed the new 5-minute high. So that's the real difference between the alert windows and the top list windows. And occasionally we do get the question is, how do you take good strategy and vice versa, take it from a top list over to a history, or over to a washout bounce? If I was doing it the other way around, we would have to collaborate the settings from the top list, and then we would have to come in and add some sort of an algorithm or event. 5-minute high is usually an easy one to use to get these to trigger. So that's the basics on how to transpose the filter settings from one tool to the next, from a top list to a alert window or vice versa and back. So that's a popular question. Hopefully people got a little bit out of that. If you didn't, you can always email info@trade-ideas.com, and we can go over that again, or we can watch the recorded video. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Again, it's an abbreviated day. The trade of the week, of course, I almost forgot, is SunPower. And again, SunPower is starting off with many of the same looks that these particular stocks have. The trend change. The stock that's been beat up, basing, making new higher lows. Here's a higher low. Here's a higher low. And so as we came into the weekend, SunPower is 40% short the float. Okay, but it's got a bigger float, 43 million, but that's okay. Still 40%. If the solars start to realize that they might be on the wrong side if they're short, things could start to get interesting. Hasn't happened yet, and like I said, it's not the scalp of the week, it's the trade of the week, or more like the position, because some of these positions can just go on for a few weeks if they continue to work. Here was our nice candle last week, and rather than be the person that bought this big green bar, it's always nice to be patient and wait for the obvious breather the stock puts in. And then Friday we looked like this right here. So going into the weekend, we had this little candle. We established a really nice higher low. And when you take the metrics of what's been working on the short float and short squeeze, it was kind of a consensus when we picked it around that SunPower was going to be the trade of the week. We got a little bit of alpha yesterday into the green, a little bit today, but we closed, I think, 10 to 15 cents below our entry point. Nothing to worry about. But what I really probably don't want to see is the stock come back down here. It may try and tickle and test this, but if it's going to move through that, I probably wouldn't want to see it come back down more below than we'll call it 695-ish, because we've got to keep this higher low intact, and then also, of course, manage our risk. That's our number one job, is to manage the risk. So there's the trade of the week, SunPower, again following in the same vein of the trend change lubricant. Hopefully I showed you, because I showed you what has been working and why it's been working, and we'll continue to do that as traders, continue to go with what's working until it no longer works. So with that said, I'm going to kind of switch over to the questions box, and I'd like to introduce Keith, who can unmute himself. And Mr. Keith Kern's been a trader for a long time and a user of Trade Ideas for a long time, and like I said, we were both also over at Ditto Trade as master traders, lead traders, where people could essentially follow our trades in real time in the same trade block using a really cool brokerage technology. But that's since come and gone. But it's nice to welcome Keith as an alumni of Trade Ideas and also of Ditto Trade. How you doing, Keith?
All right. Hey, yeah, thanks, Steve. Great presentation there. What a great opportunity for Trade Ideas folks, or anyone really, to come into these webinars. Sounds like you guys put on quite a few of these. I was guilty of not knowing this, so to be honest. And,
you're missing out. Yeah, you're missing out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Let me send the desktop viewer over to you. You'll have a prompt, and you'll be ready to go. And I'm curious to hear what you have to say, and I'll man the question box as well.
Give me one moment here while I get my monitors set up here. Okay, should be seeing I've got a trade of the week with special guests. My name here on screen.
You're there. We got you.
Okay. Hey, well, thanks again, Steve, Scott, and the whole team here at Trade Ideas. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to coming in and hearing what you guys have to present, and also just giving a sort of brief, outline of my processes and a couple of trades that I've had the past several days, along with how I utilize Trade Ideas and and how I get a lot of my trade ideas through Trade Ideas, just by myself. So look forward to going over that. Let me go ahead and give my disclaimer here as well before I introduce myself and give you a little bit of background and what I do exactly. Just same as with Trade Ideas. I'm not an investment advisor. I don't have any licenses. Just here to have a conversation with you folks, and hopefully you guys can get a nugget or two out of this presentation to help you become better traders, become more profitable, whatever. So just take that with a grain of salt there. Moving on. So who am I? Let's see. I'm getting some feedback. You guys can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, it's good on my end.
All right, very good. Okay, so what I'm going to do here in the 20 minutes that I have, I'm just going to introduce myself, kind of give you a brief background of what I do on the website and that I have, and then go over just real quick my trade processes, what I go through the day, kind of my routine, how I find my trades, and then just go over a couple specific trades to kind of show you my strategy and how I try to manage my risk and what my reward is and that sort of thing. And with that, I'll take any questions later on if you guys want to throw some questions in the Q&A box there with the software. I'd be more than happy to answer questions as well. Bear with me. I am in a home office this evening, and I do have family going on in the background, so if you hear any noise or a dog barking or something, just bear with me. I'm not a professional presenter. I do enjoy doing these presentations. I'm just a trader, a full-time trader guy that enjoys speaking with other traders, and I enjoy learning from others. I also enjoy teaching and hopefully helping others avoid the pitfalls that I've maybe been through the past 15 years, and hopefully help you guys along your trading journeys and to maybe learn some things that I learned the hard way. So with that, who am I? Again, my name is Keith Kern on Twitter. My moniker is STT2318. I've been a full-time day and swing trader for the past 15 years, since 2001. Previous to that, I was a broker for Edward Jones for a brief stint and Merrill Lynch for a brief stint. So after a couple of years being a stockbroker, I ended up going off my own and basically trading my own and a family account, basically my own accounts. So with the advent of social media, I've been on Twitter for about 7 years now, but I've gotten to know a lot of you guys very well over the years. It's been a pleasure. But with the advent of social media, I've been able to talk with others and also get a lot of questions on my trading strategies. And as a result of that, about 3 years ago, I started a website called Trader's Toolbox, and the website is traderstoolbox.net. And that is kind of a culmination of all these questions I continually get over the years. I tend to get a lot of the same questions over and over and over, and I thought, what better way to answer those questions than to have a website with a blog and that sort of thing. So just invite you guys to check the website out in your spare time. I do offer, I'll just be real quick here, I do offer a nightly newsletter that goes out via email. I do also offer chart alerts, chart ideas throughout the day that I send to you straight to your device with risk parameters, reward parameters, and pivots. I also have a chat room as well. I would encourage you to check out Trade Ideas chat room, but if you're looking for anything more than that, you can be welcome to check out my chat room as well. And also, lastly, I have a education package where I have 12 hours of live classes that I've recorded. I did a live class for a long time, and I recorded the 12 best sessions, and I've packaged that along with a textbook that goes with that. And I have all these different resources and premium type services at the website. All right, so enough of that boring stuff. Just to kind of show you guys, what I've done this year personally. This isn't to brag, but it's more or less to show, hey, you know what? Someone can be a trader full time. You always hear the horror stories out there, or you hear the statistics are stacked against you, and with new types of software such as Trade Ideas, there's no reason why someone can't be a full-time trader and make a nice living doing this. Now, I'm not one of those guys where you're going to see on my Twitter, beach trading with bikini models and Lamborghinis. I'm not that person. But I am a guy that can grind and grind and grind and make a nice living by being a trader. And that's what this graph is. Just kind of show you what I've done this year so far. And just to kind of show you, hey, you know what? This can be done. All right, so what I'm going to do is kind of go over my routine briefly before I go over some specific trades. I'm going to kind of show you my process, and this is going to be very quick. I could speak an hour on each one of these bullets here, each one of these headlines. But I'm just going to be real brief with this. Again, if you have questions, fire them in the Q&A box, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. And then I'm going to go over some specific trades, and even one that I entered in today. And kind of show you what I look for and why I enter where I do and what my risk is and what my reward might be and that sort of thing. But just before I get started with that, just so you know, I'm kind of a hybrid guy, a hybrid trader. I'm a swing trader, but I scalp a lot. I also kind of like to call myself a swing scalper, so to speak. So I am swinging positions. I'm also day trading as well. And a lot of times I'm day trading my swings, if that makes sense. So I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats throughout the day, being a full-time trader. But I'm going to kind of show you, kind of my bread and butter in the next few minutes. So number one, my routine. So I scan nightly and intraday. Back a couple of years ago, before I really got in deep with trade ideas, I was running scans, and I was probably running an hour, hour and a half a night looking for setups. And to be honest, I really enjoy that. I still enjoy that. But with trade ideas, it's really been a pleasure for myself to get involved with trade ideas as a subscriber, because what it does is it brings me ideas every day, all day, and I don't necessarily have to run those nightly scans anymore. So it's kind of a real-time scan, if you will, the way I have it set up. And if I can just pull my box over here, this is my main scan, and this will make more sense as I go through the presentation. But all day long, I have a scrolling list of names that are hitting this expanding volume filter. And what I do then is I basically just type those symbols into my charting system that I have set up on another screen, and just look to see if it kind of meets, it looks good to my eyes. So instead of flipping through 1,000 charts every night, what I'm able to do is I have this scan in front of me in real time, and it gives me the parameters that I'm looking for my setups. I will send this out via the cloud after the presentation. I'll do this via email if that's okay. I'm not real tech savvy, and I'm not near as good as what Steve was doing there, but it took me a few minutes to figure it out. But what I will do is, if anyone wants this formula of mine, I'm going to send it out via email afterwards. So if you're registered with the webinar, you'll have access to this if you're interested. Okay, so my routine basically, one is scanning. That's you got to have the ideas in order to place the trade, and that's where trade ideas really come in with me. Now, with trade ideas, they obviously have other types of services and information out there that I really haven't even tapped into. So to be quite frank with everyone, I need to learn more about what Trade Ideas has to offer. But I know that this scan, just in itself, this one particular scan has made me a lot of money and has also saved me a lot of time. So just in this alone is well worth the subscription. The subscription fees, which are, in my opinion, are very inexpensive for what you're getting. So two, reading news. So not only am I running scans, secondly, I'm reading news all day long to kind of have a feel for the markets, kind of have a feel for what other people are thinking on the markets, and it's just good to have, a good background, a good education on what's going on in the world, and just kind of a feel for, are the markets, how are they reacting to certain news, like, for example, yesterday we had the tragedy overseas with the vehicle crashing into the Christmas setup or whatever it was. But anyways, and the market really didn't react to that. So with the tragedy like that, and then you see, oh my gosh, the market's, but the market doesn't care. Those are just the types of things to get a feel for. And when we're obviously, Steve was saying, if you're shorting right now, you're not making money. That's so true. Like right now, it just seems like this market, the Dow is hell bent for 20,000 for whatever reason, but that's just kind of the environment we're in. So just kind of have a good feel for what's going on with the markets on the fringe edges and what's going on geopolitically and that sort of thing. Number 3, watch list development. Again, that's where my scans come in. So what I'm doing is, and I'll kind of show you guys, I'm kind of old school in a way, but if I can pull this over, I have a worksheet every night, and it's just pencil and paper. And if I have an idea that I like to watch, I'm basically jotting that idea down with a pivot point and constructing watch lists based on these charts. And without getting too deep into this, I manage my charts. I use stockcharts.com. I know TradeIdeas has a charting platform now. I've not really tapped into that. I use stockcharts.com to catalog my trades and annotate them, so I have a place to go to see what charts and what charts might be close to pivot areas and that sort of thing. So I have this sheet I go through every single day, and every single day I have a new sheet. I'm crossing off, I'm adding to it, and what I like to do then is have this watch list of mine coincide with my trading platform. I happen to use eTrade Pro as a platform. If I can, let's see if I can pull that over. Yeah, so basically in a nutshell, my watch lists will mirror my piece of paper that's in front of me. Okay, so there's a method to my madness. But I've got a lot of names in front of me, and I try to hone in on about a half dozen of these names for specific entries as they trade during the day and I watch the action. Back to the slides here. So that was number 4, my platform setup. Just wanted to kind of show you guys how that kind of fits in with my watch list development. Number 5, information management, screen setup. Kind of went over that as well. And then number 6, how I utilize social media. I just like to share ideas on Twitter and StockTwits and those types of platforms, and I like to follow certain people to get ideas back. So with that, let me go over a couple trade examples that I've had recently. And what I like to do is I look for setups, folks, that have specific resistances and or supports. And in this particular chart, I noticed INVN had a nice resistance area of about 850. Okay, the more times resistance hits, the price hits these resistances, the better I like the formation. And what I look for, folks, is breaks of resistance and or supports. A lot more resistance breaks the last several weeks. And I look for expanding volume. Okay, so I keep it simple. I've personally tried numerous different strategies over the many years I've been trading. I've tried basically any type of overlay or indicator that is imagined. I've done high frequency stuff. I've tried algorithmic trading. And what's worked for me the best is basically simple supports, simple resistances, and volume. So on a resistance breakout, what I'm looking for is what I call expanding volume. This is textbook right here. But just what I'm looking for is a volume expansion, meaning just a volume day that's better than, say, the last 7 or 8 sessions. Okay, and that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting when I'm running these scans with trade ideas. Is I'm looking for volume expanders relative to, say, the last 10 days, and the computer's figuring this out for me with trade ideas and giving me these types of names, and I can go in and then check the formation manually on my own. So I'm a little bit old school still, but it works for me. And that's not to say I can't be more efficient and learn more about what technology is out there, specifically with trade ideas. I still have some learning to do, but I've been with them for several years now, and they've really helped my my curve with my time and with the ideas. But anyways, with something like INVN, I look for the breakout of the particular resistance area. I have a depth of the pattern to kind of give me a kind of an idea of what my measurement should be, or the trade objective. So in this case, if you can kind of follow my cursor here, be a 7-0. It's about 850 depth of this pattern. Okay, see that? So it's about $1.50. Tack that on 850 gives me a target of about $10. So with that, I need to know what my risk parameter is. Okay, and with my patterns, I like to utilize support trends as my risk. So in this case, and it's a little bit hard to see, this isn't a perfect example, but if you could pull this in on a 15-minute view, you can kind of see this uptrend over the last week or so on this chart. Okay, so if you can kind of see that line, that would be my risk parameter. So if you can kind of draw an imaginary line here, my risk parameter would be coming in at about $8. All right, so I have about a 50-cent risk, and I know I have a $1.50 reward. And Steve was mentioning this earlier in his presentation, but for me, my job is to continually to get myself into positions that give me a greater reward versus the expected risk on the trade. Okay, so in this case, I have a $1.50 reward potential to a 50-cent risk. That's a 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. And if you can continually get yourself in these types of positions, you will make money even if you're correct less times than you are incorrect. I have found personally over hundreds of thousands of trade executions, I'm correct about 65% of the time. And I don't foresee myself getting any better with those numbers, but what I think I can get better at is managing the exits on my trades to make my winners a little bit bigger than what my losers are. Okay, so that is something I can improve on, and I'm always continually trying to improve upon. Tactics and strategies and to manage the trade to the upside. I'm going to go over that here in a second as well on how I do that. But again, just simplified, you just want to get yourself in, basically a reward much bigger than your risk. And I get into a trade knowing what my risk is and position accordingly and go into that trade with the expectation, okay, here's what my risk is. Am I comfortable with that loss? And if so, I don't go in expecting to lose, but I go in there with not being surprised that, hey, this trade may not work out, right? So as traders, we continually trade day in and day out. We're obviously going to have some trades that just don't work. With me, it's 35 out of 100. And so I need to be able to mentally manage those losers and not let those losers, blow up my accounts. So another quick example of a current trade was this PACD a week or so ago. You can kind of see the resistance is around 450. If you can see the depth of the pattern, it was about 3 to 450. Okay, but if you can kind of see that, so $1.50 on top of the 450 gives me a target of 6, and my risk in this particular trade is if you can draw this line, and maybe we can do that here. Yeah, let me just pull this up and draw it real quick. My charting platform here. We can do that. You can kind of see that my risk on this particular pattern was right here. Okay, was right there. Okay, so I know my risk on this particular pattern was about right in here. It's about a quarter. Okay, so what that means is if this breaks out and comes down the next couple of days and closes solidly below this line, the trade idea is no longer in play and is voided out, and we have to stop out. So I have about a quarter risk on this, about $1.50 reward. So that parameter is in my favor. As you can see down here, the volume expanded. Okay, so that legitimized the breakout, and we got a target pretty quickly. Now, one last thing here. I know I'm running a little bit later, possibly, but one way that I manage my exit is what I call a scale and trail tactic, okay, or trim and trail, whatever you want to call it. And what I do is I like to exit in 3 pieces. Okay, so one is I like to exit a third on this initial pop, and this is kind of more of an art than science. But on this initial pop, I like to basically take a third off, which pays me. It decreases my risk and allows my emotions to stay intact. as I manage this to the upside, allows me to ride it a little bit longer. My second piece, my second sale is hopefully the objective target based on the pattern measurement. And then finally, the third piece, I like to ride the trend as long as I can. As you can see, this uptrend is still intact. Okay, so I would ideally still be in a third of this position and try to ride this trend line as long as I can. Now, there's nothing better as a trader to have a portfolio of names that you're on your trailers, right? If you can, have your final third piece and have a portfolio of a half dozen to a dozen names all trailing. Your emotions are out of the trade. You've got winners running, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's what you want to kind of get at as a trader is ultimately have those portfolios with a bunch of trailers. One last thought on a chart like this. Another strategy would be to wait. If you miss a breakout, is to wait for this pullback down to this support line and enter here. Okay, don't ever chase candles, right? But if you wait on a pullback back to the support area, it's a very good risk-reward parameter there as well, because we know the support is right here, and we would sell if the support failed, and yet we have a strong momentum trend line to the upside. So this area would be another nice entry if perhaps you did miss the initial breakout. So once again, get rid of this here. So once again, I utilize trade ideas all day long. I have a screen devoted right to them with my scans. And I just wanted to show you the one that I use, and the expanding volume scan that I've written, and continually feeding me ideas all day long. And then I like to basically pull up some of the names that look good to me with my eyes, with the patterns, and go from there. One last slide I have. I won't go over this because I'm getting a little bit long here. But one idea that broke out today that I had was this ADHD, and we can kind of tell. If you get to know me a little bit with my work, you kind of get a feel for my patterns. But you can kind of see today we had a nice resistance area and a bottom type setup, with a nice breakout. The volume was expanding, and also secondarily, the RSI is giving me a nice positive divergence. So that's always nice to see down there as well. So with that, Steve, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sure. You've got one person asking what your favorite business-related news site is. Okay.
So I use a couple of different ones. I use briefing.com. I also use Trade Exchange. Trade Exchange is somewhere new that I've basically stumbled on, and it's a very good value for the subscription fee. And I've been a long-time briefing fan. They have some nice fundamental lists as well. They like to scan charts for us, some growth lists, that sort of thing. So I'm a briefing and a Trade Exchange guy. So yeah.
Okay. And the next number one question is, of course, is everybody that uses Trade Ideas would love to have a copy of your bread and butter scan. Were you thinking about sharing that?
Yes, I am going to share that. As I mentioned a little bit ago. I don't know the best way. I know, Steve, you shared yours via some.
Yeah, let's walk you through it. Go ahead and pull it over, and it's just a two-step process.
Let's see here. So. Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm not super savvy with this, but
okay.
So I have this right here, and so what I do every morning, Steve, is I load my own right from right here. This is
it's your latest version
right here.
Okay, go ahead and load that, and drag that window in.
Yeah, let's see here.
There it is. It's refreshing. So right-click inside there,
and
then save or share to cloud. Step number one, save or share to cloud. Right in the middle. It's midway down.
Gotcha.
All right. Now the middle button, save and share, next to the save at the bottom. This is going to allow you to also export it. So save and share. All right. Now the third step is copy, and that's going to copy it. No, use the button. Use the button down there. Yeah. At the bottom, copy all. Perfect. Now on the GoToMeeting toolbar, we've got the dashboard, the questions, the polls. If you hit the plus key on that chat, the chat window is going to open up, and there'll be a chat window. All you got to do is Shift V or Control Paste, right-click paste, however you want to do it, and there you go. And there you go. So everybody who's attending right now live, that code is available to you. I know we'll have some stragglers that will be emailing Keith for that code after they watch the recording, but at least we got this out of the way for the people that are live and want to break that open and take a look at your cool scan. Looks like you got that in there relatively easy.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I also will follow up with an email with that formula. I've kind of got if you register for the webinar, I have a follow-up email as well that I'll send out with this information too. So you'll have an email for those that are interested.
And your Twitter handle again is STT?
Yeah, it's here. Let me pull this over here. It is right there. It's STT2318. Long story on the name. I know it's not a very good marketing tool or not a very good brand, but at STT2318, I'm very active on Twitter. I share a lot of ideas on there. I pretty much put everything. I pour my heart and soul in there, and with ideas, I really enjoy the interaction with other traders. Yeah. And then my website's on here as well. So
great. All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll take control back, and we'll turn it over to Scott, and let Scott give everybody. Let me see here. Change presenters. Me. All right. Very
Thanks again, folks. I really enjoyed it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending. And just to remind everyone, I know Keith will be following up with an email. We'll also be sending one out with a link to the replay once I get the video file converted and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So thanks everyone for attending. And to thank everyone, we have a code, Capture Alpha. It needs to be all caps like you see it on your screen. In fact, there's also a handout in your handouts panel. So if you look at your GoToWebinar interface, there's a handouts label right next to a plus sign. Click on that plus, it'll expand it. You can download a 2-sheet PDF that contains this sheet and also our contact information for your reference. So that code, Capture Alpha, saves 15% from your first month or year of premium for your first installment, or 10% off the same for standard. Both TI Premium and Standard, they cover your exchange fees, the real-time data, all the window types that we have, your charting. Also very important, a full hour of one-on-one training with Steve or Andy or Jamie, our educators. And it's a great way to get started. So as soon as you sign up for either tier of service, go directly to support, click on training, and there's a scheduling interface there for you to go ahead and pick out the best time and date that works for you. However, premium is really, it's the way most of our clients are going. Even if they upgrade from even if they start with standard, they end up upgrading to premium, because that's where our AI, the artificial intelligence engine, is, Holly, and also unlimited backtesting using our event-based backtesting module, as well as other advanced features. This year we launched in addition to launching Holly early this year, we also launched our price alerts, and that's been very popular. It's a great way, especially in our trading room. People use the price alerts in their trading room and also with our other webinars quite a bit. That's a great way to keep up with the software and our alerts. So the premium, that code Capture Alpha, saves 15% off the premium, 10% off the first month or year of standard. If you have any questions, the best place to send most of your questions is to info@trade-ideas.com. That goes directly into our help desk software, and we route it to the appropriate team member. So it might go to Steve if it's a trading question, or it might go to Brad if it's a technical question, or to me if it's an email question. But if you have a billing question, you can also call 619 number, and that's a great way to get in touch with us for a subscription question during regular business hours on the West Coast. Steve's easy to get. He's steve@tradeIdeas.com. We're Trade Ideas Pro app, facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro. We post some different content there from now and then, so if you're already on Facebook, you may as well add us to your stream. Go ahead and like our page. You can find Steve on Twitter @TodayTrader. And Dan Merkin, our founder and CEO, is Trade Ideas 1 on Twitter. We also have Trade Ideas, and then Jamie Hodge is QuantBot. We've got some others. If you stay tuned to our webinars, you'll learn them all. Thanks everyone for attending, and thank you, Keith, for coming in and spending some time with us today. We'll go ahead and do this again at some point early next year. We'll figure that out.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Steve.
My pleasure. Thanks, folks.
Yeah. Oh, one update. We do have a webinar in our normal time slot tomorrow for a QA webinar with Dan Merkin and Brad Williams. However, our Thursday Trading Studio webinar this week is canceled. There's no office hours webinar next Monday because it's a holiday. And then we decided not to have the Trade of the Week webinar on Tuesday since everyone's rolling back in from the holiday and attendance would be pretty sparse. However, we start up our normal schedule next Wednesday with our Q&A session at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, and normal trading studio on Thursday. And then the day after New Year's, we will also go dark because it's a holiday, but then back on that following Tuesday. So we'll keep you informed. Keep an eye on your email, and I'll send everyone a link to the video replay of this in a couple hours. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Keith. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right. Thanks for showing up. Great crowd.
Have a good night, guys.